It seems that our world is forcing us to look at these things, as you talked about the oil spill. And everybody in this room has a car. So we all are playing our part. It's not a them. It's not BP and these guys. It's us. I have a car. I use electricity. It's nice and cool in here. So we're part of that. And from what I'm hearing in the circle right now, there's something happening. It feels like there's this split. People are being forced for whatever reason, and that shows up as addiction and depression, all the things that are the manifestation of this uncertainty of being at this fork in the road, that, okay, we're sort of being guided to this other fork, which we know is not sustainable anymore, which we know is not going to work, and this other fork, which is the unknown. And I guess I would, people that want to go into the unknown, and I would ask this of Oliver and Rich first, because they get to see people in terms of a medical paradigm. Are people wanting to move out of the allopathic treatment paradigm of pharmaceuticals and so forth? And if so, what's that look like, and where do they want to go? And are people even aware of that?
I think the short answer is yes for most people, and people are struggling to find their way with it. I think, as a physician knowledgeable about the medical community, I think the public is way ahead of doctors. And so it's really public-driven, with doctors coming along, some kicking and screaming, others already heading in that direction, but with the profession putting brakes on it out of fear, more than anything else. I think it's again scary, and I had an interesting conversation with my brother about a week ago, where I talked about this with him, and he's an attorney, and he says that I had said that these days patients want to be the center of things. They want to pick and choose and have a body worker and an acupuncturist and a physician and maybe a naturopath, and a series of different healers. I'm just mentioning a few, but a shaman, a homeopath. I don't want to exclude anybody. There are lots and lots of alternatives, and I think that in the past there's been a belief that kind of father knows best, so there's this kind of paternalistic point of view in the culture, that you go to the expert, you go to the doctor, and I think that's just breaking down, and people are being forced to be their own experts, and the internet has been incredibly helpful, because I have patients who are way more knowledgeable about something that they've looked up than I am, and they'll tell me, and so then, which is wonderful. I get to learn from them. It's was a little disconcerting at first, but that's how I grow, is by rolling with that and moving with that and seeing, and that's true. So the person, the client, the patient it really is the center, who has to be empowered, and it has to be from within, because the doctor may stand in your way, or some other person who's doing healing may stand in your way by trying to get you to do something that they think is right but doesn't fit for you. It's not the right path for you. It's not your path, it's their path. And so I think that's a major shift that's happening, and it's happening slowly, I guess. It seems slow, but it's actually a very major cultural shift. So it's happening in the whole culture, that there's this shift. And what I was telling my brother about this, who's an attorney, and he says the same thing's happening in law. That clients are picking and choosing among several different law firms at once, and assigning different tasks to each firm based on how they feel that particular firm will be helpful to them, and that the law firms are having to deal with that. and instead of assuming that the client is going to give them all their legal business, and that's really shifting, and it's kind of amazing to him. So I think it's happening in a bunch of different areas of life. I'm just seeing it from my vantage point, in which the person is being asked to re-empower themselves and to not give their power away as they have for so long. And I think in some ways it feels to me like a central message of this time is to deal with your shadow, to do a series of things that enable you then to take your power back if you've given it away, or to find it and be more comfortable with it, and also to seek your own authority from within and to trust it, and not think that it's out there. And that includes in the spiritual realm, not to give your authority away to spiritual teachers, of whom there are many and always have been hanging out their shingles, and but it's also realizing that the answers are inside, and that you have to empower yourself as a source of spiritual knowledge, as deep inside, a source of spiritual knowledge. And that's a great mystery. So people have to begin to find the sacred inside and to begin to open that space up, that space that's so mysterious.
It's so refreshing coming from a psychiatrist.
I just watched this movie about Martin Luther and how the whole Protestant era came to be, and it was so fascinating. But it reminded me, still, even though that was a huge thing, you didn't need the church to be, the priest to be your, intermediary between you and Jesus or God. But still, there was you and there was God. And as I was watching, I was going, yeah, but now we're moving into that unity consciousness where there's no you and God. There's just the one. There's just that we're all God in form. Only some of it, sometimes we know it and sometimes we don't know it. And some of us know it more than others. And I think that's part of that huge shift that's going on. And within the healthcare field, I've been an obstetrical nurse for, 25 years, and I was a midwife for many years, and I worked at Kaiser, and Kaiser, on many levels, Kaiser was really embracing alternative medicine and letting people have acupuncture and do, herbs and all these things. But it was really interesting within obstetrics, all these new doctors that were coming in had so much fear placed in them around medical and legal issues that their whole agenda as they're coming into the healthcare was how to protect themselves legally. And it was totally affecting birth. I mean, as a midwife, as a nurse midwife working in a hospital setting, in a HMO, I just felt like I couldn't practice as a midwife because this medical legal thing was so overriding. And also there's so much fear being put out that women were really feeling like they wanted to still give their power over to the doctor, and they wanted to trust in the doctor was going to rescue them, and they wanted that C-section, or they wanted to be induced, or they wanted these things. And it just really, for me, it was, I came out, I had my kids in the 70s in the, natural childbirth era. And it was very hard for me to watch women still so much wanting that intervention, the medical intervention, even when not necessary. That was what took me kind of out of the medical model, and like taking my midlife break and said, I got to get out of this healthcare. And I've got to reach women way before they're, coming in labor, because at that point it's too, you really can't. You can do what you can do, but it's not that much. You've got to get them while they're still little kids, and help them feel that empowerment, and that they can listen to their own body, and that they can make those choices. And I think that is coming into healthcare, but it's it starts in the grassroots. That's really where we make those demands. We go out and start spending all our money on alternatives, and suddenly the healthcare organizations say, we got to get on board with this. We're missing out on what people want.
Yeah.
It's